here, though.
It is.
Okay, then 5 seconds, guys. Okay, well, Kufar Akbar, everybody, welcome to another edition of the Crossing the Crescent discussion group. This is a blog talk radio show that is dedicated to rightly dividing the difference between Christianity and Islam. To this end, thus go I. Peace, blessing, shalom. Welcome to the show. We are here every Tuesday evening at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time and 2 p.m. Central Standard Time on Sundays, and we're usually here for about 2 hours. Inshallah, if we see that we got a couple people in the chat. Not a lot of action over there yet, but hopefully some people will become pouring in tonight. I wanted to say something to the mods over there in the chat, and when we get more people coming into the stream, if you guys can remind me to let them. Aladdin is. I don't want to say he's a crybaby. I don't want to say he's a whiner, but here's his complaint. Every time I come to your show, your mods, you meaning me, put me in timeout, and I don't have any interaction other than posting a couple things in the chat, but I don't. That's all the mods. So it's the mods who do that, and I tried to explain it to him. I said, "Why don't you just come to the stream, and then that way I can control." You know what?
I think he blasphemed last time, so I think that's part of what happened.
Did he? Okay. Well, that's kind of the rule. You don't blaspheme. If you blaspheme, well, then you're gone. Yeah, you just don't do that. But if you can, behave yourself and act like an adult, there should not be any problem. So when we get a little more people involved in the chat, more people coming in the stream. Please try to let me remind me of doing that. Okay, so tonight, we're going to be talking once again about the Pact of Umar. What we just was Connie? She jumped off. We're going to be talking about the Pact of Umar. For those of you who are not aware of what the Pact of Umar, we've talked about it several times on the show, but I've always, when we've spoken about this and discussed it as a topic, what we've normally done is we've compared it to, she's back. We've compared it to Western civilization, democracies. Is it compatible with the United States Constitution? And when you start comparing it to, let's see, the First Amendment, no. Second Amendment, no. Third Amendment, no, because you have to house passerbys, and we'll go into that. Fourth Amendment, search and seizure, no, because you cannot hide people and they can come into your dwelling anywhere. Fifth Amendment, right to remain silent. I don't know, maybe Sixth Amendment. What's the Sixth Amendment? Sixth Amendment is that the right to face your accused? Seventh Amendment's trial by jury.
Yeah.
Okay, so it might be compatible with that. And then Eighth Amendment, cruel and unusual punishments, getting your hand hacked off or your foot. No. And then Ninth Amendment, recognizing the sovereignty of the individual, saying that any rights not spelled out in the Constitution belong to the individual. And the same thing with the 10th Amendment down to the state. So essentially the entire Bill of Rights, the Sharia violates, and the Pact of Umar violates. And we've talked about that before. And we're going to talk about in detail and discuss not only what the Pact of itself says tonight, but we're also going to be looking at how it's codified in the Sharia itself, how it's codified in this green book here, which is Reliance of the Traveler. And what the Reliance of the Traveler says about it and where it gets its information in its application there. Okay. And also, I would also say the 13th Amendment, which abolishes slavery, and the Sharia does not abolish slavery. The 14th Amendment grants citizenship and civil rights to minorities, or in this case, it was the slaves. So that doesn't apply. And then voting rights, the Kafirs don't get a vote in Islamic countries. So I guess there's all kinds of amendments that it violates. And that doesn't even look at the Constitution itself. That's just the amendments or the articles in the Constitution itself, which just discusses the amendments. Okay. So let's go ahead and get rolling on this. Do we have anything that we need to discuss prior to this? Any current events happened lately, Paul?
Well, the only thing that I can think of that's been happening is there was a new fire on a food processing plant.
No, are you kidding me?
Yeah, there was. It was a huge. We're talking about. They think about 30,000 chickens were killed. Let me just pull the story up just a second. I've got to check my history. But it was so extensive, and it, when you start looking at the story, you sit there and, yeah, you have to sit there and wonder what the heck is going on where we have this continually happening, and that's the only
seriously.
thing. I'll put the link in the chat real quick. Just found it. Okay.
Because I mean, how many
this is a
processing plants? I mean, how many processing plants is this? I mean, it's got to be at least 20.
I think we're over 20 now, and they're saying it's not a pattern. Well, many of them
say it's not a pattern.
Reasons for some of these fires.
What's that now?
Some of them have been planes that have suddenly, that have bypassed like smokestack somehow and ran into the processing plant. And this one, you can find on. I put the link in the room. I hope everybody got it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I can see it in chat there.
One of the largest egg factories in the United States torched in the middle of the night amid outbreak of fires in food processing facilities. And this one's by Alicia Powell.
Okay, what do you mean torch? What does it mean by torch? It was this was arson, or
it hit. I don't see how it can be anything else. A barn that housed tens of thousands of chickens on Forsman Farm in Howard Lake, Minnesota, one of the largest egg producers in the country, was set aflame last Saturday night. According to Forsman Farms, which provides more than 3 million eggs to the largest retailers in the country, the cause of the fire remains a mystery as investigators evaluate the scene to determine how the barn was set ablaze. Okay.
So how did it just say how many eggs a day it produced or not?
I think it said 3 million
a day.
3 million eggs. Provides more than 3 million eggs to the largest retailers in the country. It doesn't say how many a day.
That's a lot of chickens.
Yeah. Well, the question is there's tens of thousands. They believe they lost. There were tens of thousands of chickens lost.
Okay, so that means so that's not 3 million a day because the chickens lay 29 eggs.
All they said is tens of thousands of chickens were killed.
Wow. Where's Kentucky Fried when you need them? That's crazy. And okay, so where in Minnesota was this?
And that's the other thing I'm thinking about. It's Howard Lake, Minnesota, and Minnesota is where one of the largest amounts of Muslim migrants have flocked to. So it's a
Well, I know
possible.
there's a town. What's the name of this town?
There's just a lot. There's just too many of these events happening altogether for them to be unknown.
There's a town north of. I can't remember. It's not Oldline. What's the name of this town? Come on,
Well,
Catherine.
Dearborn's Illinois.
I know, but there's. I always forget the name of this town. Let's see here. I'm gonna find it. That's not it. Good Lord, you wouldn't think life would be this hard. Let me see here. Let's zoom in. And it is West Union. There we go. West Union. Golly, it's not a big town, but there is a food processing plant there that the majority of the people who work in the plant are Muslims. And
yeah, that's unfortunately becoming the common thing.
And listen to this: the majority ownership of this plant are Orthodox Jews. You think the labor relations in that alone would be quality entertainment?
Red flags.
Yeah, I and it's been a big deal where it used to be where a lot of the people that worked in the plant were Hispanic migrant workers, and they did a raid on the plant a number of years ago when the majority of people there were Hispanic, and it was big in the news because so many of the people were deported back to Mexico and Central and South America without their children. So these children are they're like, oh, where's dad? Well, he got deported. And so the children were, it was big news here for quite a while. Okay. That's weird because if you think about, okay, how many times do airplanes crash in this country? I mean, how often does this happen? It doesn't happen. I mean,
then you have two, at least a minimum, I think it was 2 or 3 that go straight into food processing plants within a week of each other.
Right. You're right. I mean, okay, think about that. I mean, how often do planes fall out of the sky in this country? Not very often. Sometimes you get some people out there with, in a twin engine or, just a single prop plane, and they auger in because they got 50 flying hours and they don't know what they're doing. But for all intents and purposes, it does not happen often at all.
And it doesn't start a huge blaze normally.
Correct. Well, it could, depending on the amount of fuel you're carrying.
In general, they don't do that.
Right. But think about this, though. You get one flies into a food processing plant where food processing plants have already been damaged out the wazoo in this country. And then how long was it after before the second one?
I think it was less than a week.
Nothing to see here. Nothing going on. It just reminds me of that. Who's the guy that plays in Airplane that is a dork? It doesn't matter. But anyway, there's a video where everything's blowing up behind him, and he's trying to say, "Please stay calm. It's okay. There's nothing going on and nothing to see here." And that's exactly what's going on here. There's something awry here, and it's what is sad is how much it's pushing the cost of food up for people. Not only do you have the pressure,
almost $40 more a week.
Yeah, and that's just you.
Yeah, and that's just for me.
Right. And you don't even, and that's not including if you have a family. And then also, if you look at those people that are most affected by it, the people on the low end of the socioeconomic ladder. When I was coming back from Kaffirstan West this week, I'm filling up the CAFRA car the whole time, $100, 98, 92, 113 was one of them. And I'm thinking the whole time, what about these people who, barely scrape by for a living? I'm not saying I'm not rich by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm not poor either. But those people who are are barely scraping by. I mean, not only are you putting pressure on them with the amount of fuel prices, energy prices, but now you're doubling down on it with the food prices, and then you have this Leslie Nielsen. Thank you, Karen. I appreciate it. That's hilarious. But you have this additional pressure with the food prices, and so the only thing you're doing is you're working. Get all these begotten increases that we've had in the past couple of years to where wages are finally outpacing inflation. All of those increases are being wiped out in just this year, and so all these people that were able to have the standard of living increase is being squashed by inflation, and then these people on this poor end of the pack, the ladder, they're being told, "Oh, go buy an electrical car." Screw you, Dr. buddy.
Yeah, Dr. Kufar and I have been discussing it, so that's kind of what brought it to the forefront. And we've been talking about: is there a plan? I mean, is there something happening? I mean, here we have the summer coming, and Christians and conservatives in general don't get up in arms. They won't grab their arms and go kill people. But when you start messing with their income, you start messing with their ability to feed their children, then they get upset. So what's going to happen next? And that's one of the things we're looking at is there a plan to try and push the conservatives to the point where they have to react? And that's what we're wondering.
Why would you have a plan, though? I mean, is this like a Charles Schwab?
Oh, I'm just looking at WEF and the stuff they're doing, and I don't know. I mean, I just sit there. It just doesn't make sense why all these are attacking food processing plants. That's for every single American would be upset. It's a way to force rioting in the streets if you can't feed your family, because now you gotta feed your car in order to go to work, and now you can't put enough money in your car. And feed your family at the same time. So I think we're getting towards that.
Well, this is the purpose of if this is indeed, and I'm not going to put a tinfoil hat on tonight, but if this is indeed purposeful, this is what they do. This is what revolutionaries do. They cause nothing but constant distress in the populations, constant instability, where people then start looking for somebody to reestablish that stability that they just had. And that enables people like Susan Rice and all of those other commie schlems that they have up there in DC to start instituting policy saying, "Oh, well, we'll help you out. We're just here to help." And the next thing you know, it erodes all your
they put another chain on you. They put another link on you.
Exactly what they're doing. Yeah. So, I get it.
We see it.
Especially when you start messing around with the food, people can only take so much, but when you start messing around with the food, speaking of a big eater, we have the Rad.
Rad.
When you start messing around with people's food, this is when people start going hungry. Yeah, that's when people start picking up guns and start shooting, because you don't starve somebody's family out or deprive them of the ability to have food because of your revolutionary policies. And the reason why I said Rad, he had what did you have in Skype last night? What were you cooking to make us all hungry? Maybe he's not there. Maybe he's on his train.
A brisket.
Brisket, that's it. It was the brisket. Yeah, brisket. Yeah, they had brisket. I'm looking, I go, ooh, that's good. And then he showed me how much it cost. And I'm like, I ain't paying that.
That's how much they cost, yeah.
I'll have a hamburger again.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go ahead and jump over to the top. Did you guys have anything else that you want to add to that? Yeah, that's just weird. How many? And that's not.
You
cannot be coincidental.
We're not able to truly connect the dots because we're not the ones with all the connections, and we're not the guys who have. But it's just sometimes there are too many coincidences to call it a coincidence.
It's not. It cannot be. You cannot have that many food processing plants or plants that are involved in the mass production and distribution of food in this
within
country.
a matter of a month. Let's put
Yeah,
that
just
way.
yeah, it was. I don't know how long it's been going
It's
on,
within
but just the
since
number.
January, since I think it's since March. We've actually had. I think the number is closer to 25 now. I'm not sure of the exact number, but
It's insane. It's not a coincidence. There's something going on, and people need to. And but the problem is that the media is so in the tank for Biden and this whole regime that he has that they won't dare, print or broadcast anything that's derog that has any derog on him. I mean, it's. Anyway, I try to stay out of politics on this show, but sometimes it's just too far. The guy is.
Well, this is beyond politics. This is beyond. This is to the point of, I'll just say it bluntly. It's murder. It's murder, and it's going to end up to be murder. It's a spirit of murder. Thank you.
Well, I think that's the end goal. That's what they. But I don't like wearing, I don't like being the person who thinks about those things, but that's all I can see is incentive to cause a riot, and all I can think of. Yeah, instability. And there's only one reason that I can think of, and I'm going to leave that alone.
Okay. All right. What's Karen's posting stuff in here? Was this the number of food processing plants being destroyed is not coincidental. I believe it's deliberate.
Karen, go back and look up Lithium Report. You'll see a show where I kind of revealed that.
Yeah. What is? I mean, what could be? The backstory on it. Yeah, and it's hard to say. You can never really pin that stuff down. It's kind of like the Russian collusion thing. What did Trump really do? Nothing. It's all Clinton. Come on.
We already have.
Everybody knew that to begin with.
Yep. And this week, that's the other thing. John Sussman was acquitted. That's the other thing that happened today.
What?
Yeah, it makes no sense. All the evidence is there that he lied, but because there's such a Dem-heavy community, the Democrats let him go. There's no question of whether he's guilty as far as I'm concerned. He basically admitted to it.
They acquitted this guy?
Yes. It's actually what Durham thought would happen.
How can they quit this? I mean,
yeah, you're asking the same, but that's the point. Everybody I knew who was watching this story.
I could see maybe a hung jury because you can't get all 12 of them.
No, they acquitted him quickly because, again, it would connect because what the trial did. The only thing the trial needed to do was to prove Hillary was involved, and they did that. So now they can use that to go after Hillary if they will.
Well, let's hope to God that they do, because that's just and not try her in D.C. Maybe try her someplace like I don't know. Alabama Texas. Or Oklahoma or something like that. I would say Texas because some places in Texas. Send her to Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
Never make it.
Hanging judge.
Beautiful state. I drove the entire length of it the other day. It's a beautiful state.
Wow.
But their interstates suck. Just like New Mexico's interstates suck. Anyway, okay, let's get to the heart of this show today. We're going to talk about the Pact of Umar. Now, the Pact of Umar, as most of you already are aware of, is a pact that was made between the second caliph, Umar, and the people of Jerusalem. He took his armies northward and sacked Jerusalem. This is after the Ridda Wars with Abu Bakr. And now they've solidified the power of the caliph. And so he starts expanding the reaches of Islam. This is the standard Islamic narrative, by the way. And he signs a pact with the people in Jerusalem. And this pact is a foundational document for much of the Sharia that we see today. And that's what we're going to be focusing on today. So this happens 6 years. Some people say it was 637. some people say 638, so don't be sending me an email saying, "Hey, Eric, you doof, it was 637, not 638." You don't know.
This is
Okay.
close enough.
Yeah, it was after Muhammad be dead, and it was after Abu Bakr's dead also. So the Pact of Umar was imposed on the Jews and the Christians in Jerusalem during this time period after Jerusalem had been conquered, and they occupied the city and applied this treaty, and it is a treaty on the people within the city. So here you have the Sharia, which is another way of saying the right path. Is derived mostly from the Quran, the Sunnah, and the Sirah, but also you have parts of the Quran or the Sharia that are derived from the Tafsir, which are commentaries on it, and the Pact of Umar. And we can look in the Reliance to Travel, which we will be. We can see this actually codified here. So the pact itself, it begins with, "In the name of God, the merciful and the compassionate." This is a letter to the servant of God, Umar ibn al-Khattab, commander of the faithful, from the Christians. Now look at this. This is supposed to be a pact from the Christians. Oops, don't want to do that. With the Muslims, okay, of such and such a city. When you came against us, we asked for you for safe conduct for ourselves, our descendants, our property, and the people of our community, and we undertook the following obligations towards you. So this is spelled out as a pact between the Christians, supposedly developed by the Christians, to Umar. You see how stupid that is? But
yes,
we were made to believe that the Christians wrote this. Okay, fine. Let's play games. Or no, let's not play games. What does CP say?
Let's go with them. Yeah, let's go with them.
Let's go with them. Okay, so let's go with them and see how this works out. So when we look in Reliance of the Traveler, section 011, it begins with this. It's telling us what they're to do with people who are conquered. You're to make a formal agreement of protection with the citizens who are, in order to have this agreement made with you. This is why the Hindus got wiped out. There was over, 70 million Hindus killed in the first couple centuries after the foundation of Islam. It's crazy. With the Jews, they can make a pact with the Jews. They can make it with the Christians. They can make it with the Zoroastrians. They can make it with the Sumerians, the Sabians, as long as their beliefs do not contradict Christianity and Judaism. And then lastly, they could go ahead and make pacts with people whose religions fall out of the Abrahamic covenant or any other prophets that are mentioned in the Bible. So this is who they can make pacts with. This is who it can apply to. So when we look at this, here's what it says. The first, I think there's 15 points in this, if I'm not mistaken, 15 different points. And the first one says, we shall not build in our cities or in their neighborhood new monasteries. So you can't build new monasteries where? In Muslim lands.
Islamic neighborhoods.
Right. No convents or monk cells, nor shall we repair. So you can't repair these things either without a permit. And this is what John Isaac has said repeatedly on this show, that you cannot repair your church if it breaks down. If the toilet backs up, you have to get permission to repair it. By day or by night, such of them all fall in ruins or is situated in the quarters of the Muslims. So in other words, and this is purposeful. This is where they would know that if they do not allow them to rebuild or repair, they
go bye-bye.
Yeah, they're going to dry up and blow away. So if you go to page 608, just in case you think I'm making this up, go ahead and get yourself one of these things, or you don't even have to look. You can get online and get a PDF version of it, just so you know the Capper's not making this up.
And the PDF version is free for those who don't know.
Yeah, that's my favorite four-letter word.
You can go to archive.org, type in Reliance of the Traveler, and you will find a copy for free.
Yeah. And it's easy to navigate too. So make sure you go to page 608, just to make sure that I'm not misrepresenting what it says there. So if you go to page 608, here's what it says. Such non-Muslims subjects are obliged, meaning they must. there's that word must, to comply with Islamic rules that pertain to the safety and indemnity of life, reputation, and property. So here you must, if you are a non-Muslim, you have to follow the Sharia. Period. You cannot. I mean, if you don't, then you are not. Then you lose your protection. So the indemnity of life, reputation, and property, and that's what they say that the Sharia applies to, but it extends so much further than that. You may not build higher than or as high as the Muslim buildings, though if they require a tall house, it is not raised. So in other words, your buildings will all be lower than Muslim buildings, period. So you better hope that they build the minarets really, really high in the town that you live in, because you cannot build a building higher than what that minaret sits in, or have a house that sits above a Muslim house. So those views that you would like to get if you set up on the side of a hill or a mountain or whatever, no, not happening. And you are forbidden to build new churches. So no church planning going on for you. Okay. Any questions? Any comments on that first one? These next couple of ones go kind of fast.
Well,
that's
I just read a passage from, I mean, this was in the Myth of Andalusia. And I recommend this book, but on page 117, it backs up what he's saying. It says the presence of distinct Muslim neighborhoods. He's talking about in Spain. Presence of distinct Muslim neighborhoods is also obvious in all versions of the famous Pact of Umar, which Malik spoke approvingly. The Pact forbade Christians from even repairing churches in Muslim neighborhoods. This was in Spain when they took over during the time of Andalusia. All right, they forbid for repairing churches in Muslim neighborhoods, having houses that looked on Muslim houses, gathering in churches that had existed in Muslim neighborhoods, and showing wine or pork or crosses in Muslim neighborhoods. And don't think that they're not fighting for these things today in Europe.
Oh, it's coming. What was that? I read a story about Sweden today. Yep. I can't remember what it was. It was about Ukrainian women fleeing the Ukraine because of the war, going to Sweden and dressing like Swedish women. They're not supposed to do it. You're supposed to dress down, dress up. I don't know what you call it.
The Ukrainian women in Sweden were told how to dress. That's right, by the Swedes, so they didn't offend the Muslims. So the Muslims
don't offend them. So make sure you wear a burqa or something around town. Okay? Could you imagine being a Ukrainian woman? Look, my house just got blown up. Okay, fine. I got the tent part. No problem.
Yeah, don't offend your terrorists.
Don't offend your invaders.
Yeah, exactly.
Forget refugee invaders.
Yeah. I call them terrorists because that's what the Quran says about Muhammad. He was to be made a terrorist, a terror to everybody, which is in the Hadith. Excuse me.
I'm sorry. I gotta. My wife, after I got back Saturday night. And then Sunday had church, Sunday school, and had the radio show. Monday I got up and we just went through. We have a barn out back. We have a 2-car garage, and we started just throwing all kinds of stuff. So I started selling stuff. I put it on Facebook, and I have the guy that's supposed to be coming over here to pick up. I have one of those toolboxes you put in the back of a pickup. You know what I'm talking about? Them. You guys know what I'm talking about. The big old tool. Anyway. He's supposed to come over and pick it up at 6. It's the only time he could be here. I'm like, hey, I got a radio show. Oh, you do a radio show? I said, well, never mind. My wife will take care of it. The queen will be out there to help you out. But anyway, I'm just looking. I'm waiting for a message for him to come. Stupid details. Too much information, Kaffer. All right, here we go. Let's see here. Number 2, we shall keep our gates wide open for passers-by and travelers. This is the Christians saying now. They have to keep their passers-by. We shall give board and lodging to who? The Jews. What? No, it doesn't say that. To all Muslims who pass our way for the evening.
No, for 3 days.
For 3 days. Yeah.
You got to feed them too.
Yeah.
Board and lodging.
That's why I said Third Amendment. This violates the Third Amendment. This is the Quartering Act stuff here.
Yes.
I mean, this is, and when you think about Ben Franklin's, what was that book he used to write? It was every year, annual something.
Poor Man's Almanac.
Some Poor Richard's Almanac. Something
Poor
like
Richard's
that. Okay.
Almanac. Is all
Right. It had all these euphemisms, and one of them is guest and fish start to smell after 3 days. This is perfect.
I like that.
Maybe they're looking. Hey, Benjamin Franklin is going to say this the same.
I've had guests that want to send out that before they get to 3 days, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, this is priceless right there. You're exactly right. Being walked in Muslim neighborhoods.
Yeah, that actually made the news, which he's talking about. I actually saw that. That's actually in Europe, throughout Europe. You'll see that as well, that they have made complaints. And you'll see that they actually throughout Canada and in the United States, wherever there's a majority of Muslim cabbies or Uber drivers, many of them refuse to take dogs and sighted dogs. I mean sighted guide dogs. So they're losing their ability to work at airports.
Well, they should. Right. And this is why when we look at the compatibility of the Sharia and this cultural thing, this is what we were discussing before the show, this cultural thing, it's incompatible with Western democracies and the recognition of individual civil liberties.
There you go.
Yeah, and then this is fun. Karen says that in Toronto they're about upset about dogs being walked in a Muslim neighborhood, especially if the dog's name is Muhammad. You don't want to do that.
Well, we know somebody who has that.
Yeah. I can tell you, don't name your dog because you'll get hate mail from everybody in the country.
I'm sorry, I still think that's hilarious.
Well, that was
a black dog.
That was a bridge a little too far. I think I kind of crossed the line on that one. So I just said a mea culpa on Facebook. Said, I'm just kidding, guys. No, you're not kidding. You're a hater. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Okay, so 3 days you got to house these guys, even if they do smell bad, and you got to feed them. I wonder if you got to wash their clothes. Doesn't matter. Okay, number 3, we shall not give shelter in our churches, in our dwellings to any spy, nor bide him from the Muslims. So this idea that you could have a sanctuary in a church, you can't do that in Islamic-dominated lands ruled by the Sharia. You have to give these people up. So if you're a criminal, if you are somebody that's on the lam, or if you violate this pact here, you too can be turned in, and you cannot go hide in your church. You do not get your sanctuary in your church. Okay, let's go to number 4. We shall not teach the Quran to our children. Now, out of all the items that Umar ibn Khattab, was that his name? Umar ibn Khattab? Yes. Okay, the second kill. Yeah. Okay, this is probably the best idea that he came up with. And the reason why is that you do not want this guy teaching the Quran to your children. You do not want me doing that, because if I did, there are so many different places that we would go. We could have a ball. I mean, I would probably start off with 929 and go right there. And I would go to 98.6 and say, oh, well, we are the worst of creatures, don't you see? But Papa, we're human beings too, aren't we? No, it says right here, the God of the universe says right here in 98.6, surely the unbelievers among the people of the book and the idolaters will abide in the fire of hell. We're going to hell. And they are the worst of creatures. So I'm sorry, honey. You might have the cute.
Oh, Dr. Kufar and I are in chapter 8, and we'll be starting verse 28 at the next time we start.
Why don't I ever get an invite to these things?
Oh, I think we put it up. I'll make sure you
Okay, send me the
I
next
think
time.
the next one will be. I'm not sure if he's doing Saturday. I've got
Okay, well,
I'll
I'm gonna
make
tell
sure
you.
you get invited.
Okay. Well, Thursday, I was just going to give you a heads up, Paul. Thursday, my wife and I are seriously going over to our pastor's house and having dinner with him and his wife. So
Have a good time.
I'm not going to be at the show. And I tried to get on your show. We saw this. We talked about that. I tried to get on your show coming back from Fear Stand West. I just could not get a signal. You had a great show.
You know, I think why they put in number 4 is because if you actually, if the non-Muslims read the Quran, they'd sit there and mock Islam. That's what it comes down to it.
Yeah.
Well, they would show the evil of it.
Mocking Islam. I'd love for Muslims to actually read the Quran in their own language and then not mock it.
Or try not to mock it anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how you can't. I mean,
well, this is why. Okay, if you guys have not yet watched it, after we get done here today, go over to Act 17 Apologetics, David Wood's channel. I think it was on David Wood's channel, and watch that debate that he had with our friend Nadir Ahmed. And it dealt with the scientific miracles or error, something else, scientific miracles or errors in the Quran. And it's just hilarious. And the only thing you have to do is just watch David Wood's opening, because everything after that, Nadir never got around to refuting. He couldn't do it. I mean, you can't do it, especially when. And the one thing that he was stuck on, that David made sure that he answered for, was the fact that stars are used as missiles.
The debate was: does science show that Muhammad?
Right.
Was
I was about to read it.
Right.
You beat me to the punchline, Paul.
Sorry.
What was the name of it?
The debate was titled "Does Science Show That Muhammad Was a True Prophet?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he comes from the backbone. This is, I mean,
and
his
woman has sperm.
Well, David brought that up. But I mean, he debates like a ninth grader. I mean, his tactics are so sophomoric. You have to agree that I have demonstrated, and you have failed to counter my argument, when David is saying it's right here.
Right, has countered it.
Right, and he does, and Nadir is just like, I do not see that. I not believe that. It's just
then he's
really
blind. Yeah, he's admitting that he's even blind to Islam. You know, instead of using your mind, you know, they just say, when we say anything, they just say, oh, they're just the enemy of Islam. It's like, well, why don't you look at what Islam is saying, and with the right mind, and you'll see you're also an enemy of Islam, because your heart has that law of God on your heart. Anyway,
well, they've lost touch with reality if they believe so.
Yes.
Especially when it's written right in front of you and say, it doesn't really mean that.
Right.
Okay, it doesn't really. Are you serious? It really doesn't mean that? Then we have to have some scholar tell us what it means. Are you kidding me? You mean that you cannot translate from the Arabic into a different language the meaning of the words that were written, and we cannot understand them, and we need somebody to tell us what it means? If that is the case, you are in a cult. Period.
And the thing is when it's written in English, it's because it's by their own Muslim scholars that have put it in English. So they're just throwing their own Muslim scholars under the bus and wanting to argue against it. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, a lot of those Muslim scholars are, I'm not going there. All right, let's go to the next one. Let's move along. Oh, yeah. And this is when we start talking about we shall not teach the Quran to our children. This is what they do to children that don't want to learn the Quran fast enough. They beat them in these madrasas.
Yes, they do.
There's all kinds of videos of this where kids are getting slapped.
There's a madrasa. I mean,
so terrible.
You can find, there's videos, there's stories written where children being beaten, and in this country, if that happens, there's a severe penalty. But The fact is,
You go on
not
record.
doing
If you're a teacher and you go up and you slap a kid or punch him in the arm and cause a bruise or something, are you kidding me? You even put your hands on a child in this country, you go to
Yeah.
jail. But they're beating the snot out of these poor, and they're just little kids.
Yes, they are.
I can see maybe a
They're
high
like
schooler
5,
punch.
6. They're 5, 6. Sometimes they're 4, and he'll slap one, and then the one that's just sitting there doing nothing, he'll go and slap the other one too, right there. I've watched it too, and it's just like, man, it just ticks me off.
Yeah.
These are children.
And what if I'm sure they're not taking into account some kids, just don't learn as fast as others. Some kids have learning disability. They're not going to.
They don't care.
These guys are just.
The teacher looks at it as that kid's hurting my reputation.
Yeah, they're just savages. Okay, let's see. What's the next one? What number are we on? Well, number 5 here. We shall not. Whoops, sorry, I don't have my screen up. Let's get it. Whoops, wrong one. There we go. Number 5. We shall not manifest our religion publicly, nor convert anyone to it. We shall not prevent any of our kin from entering Islam if they wish to it. So when you look at this, think about it. When you look at the reliance of the traveler on this one, okay, such non-Muslims are obligated to comply with Islamic rules that pertain to safety, indemnity, life, reputation. In addition, they are forbidden to openly display wine, pork, ring church bells, display crosses, recite the Torah or event the Injil allowed, and make public display of their funerals and feast days. So let's kind of take this apart here. Number 1, you cannot manifest your religion publicly, meaning that you cannot wear a cross, you cannot talk to people about it, you cannot try to convert anybody to it, meaning that you cannot preach the gospel of Jesus Christ to people. And if somebody that you're related to or somebody that you know wants to convert to it, you cannot attempt to keep them from converting to it. So let's say you have a question about Islam and you say, okay, was Muhammad really a prophet? And you say, well, no, he wasn't a prophet. Why? Well, how do you know that? Well, let's look at the Quran. We look at the Quran. The Quran's got all kinds of...
and the Quran never says he was a prophet.
All kinds of evil.
Well, it has all kinds of things in it that clearly demonstrate that he was not a prophet. So if you do
evil.
that, this is what this is what's preventing. This prevents you from telling somebody or trying to tell somebody about what's in the Quran. And in addition to this, the Sharia, the rulings that have come out of this include on page 608. Again, go to this. That you are compelled as a non-Muslim to comply with. You are obligated. You are obliged, and it includes you cannot in your store display wine or bacon or sausage or a pork chop or a pork roast or pork. I'm getting hungry thinking about this. I know I had ribs.
I'm eating after this.
Stop. Okay. And then you can't ring church bells. So, and I discussed, the first thing that we did with the video Connie did was she has it opens up with the ringing of those bells. And then for years on this show, I always had AC/DC's Hell's Bells playing until he got reported too many times for copyright. But anyway, you can't display crosses.
They make such a big thing about it. Even when you're reading the histories, Islamic histories about taking the church bells down and then breaking up the in Catholic churches, they brag about breaking up the idols, like they have statues of Mary and whatever saints, and they make them into gravel pathways into their mosques. But that's okay. But should you share Christ, should you make any mention of your faith, you're going to get beat, and that's a violation of the pact. They could kill you.
And it stops people. It stops them dead in their tracks from trying to convert. Now look what else it says here. You cannot recite the Torah to somebody, or the gospel, the evangel or the Injil to anybody. You can't recite that publicly. or you can't display public display of their funerals and feast
Wow,
days.
this
So
really makes no sense according to the Hadith. It's funny because like what we talk about on the show a lot of the time is that the whole point is that a Muslim has to believe in the books, right? They have to believe in the books
Right.
of the Jews and the Christians. So I don't understand this at all. This just seems to be kind of going against the Hadith and the Islam
well,
And the Quran. It's going against the Quran.
Isa.
Yeah.
Isa thinks
traditions.
about it, but that's a
So
great point. Why? But why would they not want the gospel to be recited aloud? Why would they not want that? And the reason is because if somebody opens up the gospel and they turn to the book of Matthew, which clearly states that you pray to our Father who art in heaven, and it clearly states that you do not pray publicly, you don't recite the same prayers every single day, it would violate their sensibilities as a Muslim. And it also,
don't pray in public.
Right. And also, by the way, it says that that Jesus Christ was crucified on a cross. So what do you mean he was crucified on the cross? 4:157 clearly says he didn't die on a cross. So what are you talking about? So this is a great point, Isa. This is why not? Why you would think that they would want to, because they say, we believe in the gospel, we believe in the gospel, and we believe in the Torah and all that came before us and the prophets that came before us. But when you start actually reading what's in them, it contradicts what Muhammad had to say. So that's a great catch.
Okay. Can I do a great catch on this? You shall not recite the Injil out loud.
Yeah.
Okay. They all say that these books did not even exist in Muhammad's time. So the Pact of Umar shows that it did. And then Uthman says that the Injil has been taken away. And our brother says, what? Did Superman take it? Did Batman take it? What happened to it? It's been taken away. So the Pact of Umar shows that we still had the Torah and the Injil at this time at 637, 638 AD.
And you know what's great about that, Connie, is
yes, sir,
that the same Injil, Gospel, Torah, Bible that existed in 638 exists now.
Amen.
Same one.
Amen. We all know this. Yes.
Yeah. So this idea, it's been corrupted. Shut your pie hole.
Yeah, so right there, the Pact of Umar is rebuking all the Muslims of today that are saying, it's corrupt, it doesn't exist no more. Read your Pact of Umar and it'll tell you.
Okay, let's go to number 6. What'd you say, Darcy?
I said, if it doesn't exist anymore, how can they prove it was corrupted?
Well, don't be asking for proof now. Don't be asking for proof. Just do what they tell you.
They just don't. They can't put up. So I keep saying they should shut up. But
where's it been corrupted? Well, this word is different from this word, or there's an insertion here. Show me where it's been corrupted to the point where if the overall arching, I don't care if Peter's name is spelled wrong. I don't care if you say John or Yehonian. I don't care about that stuff. Show me where the message has been corrupted to the point that it does not resemble the gospel message today. And the problem for them is that they can't. They have to pick out little details and say, "Oh, well, this has changed." And we did this. We did this Sunday with the numbers. Oh, we can't trust the Bible because one says 800,000, the other one says 830,000. Well, how the heck do you know this? Well, maybe there's an explanation for that. Maybe it was a copyist error. But to say that it was purposeful corruption is idiocy.
And maybe at that time when they did the count at that time, it was women that had delivered their babies. So they counted the babies at that time.
It's hard to say.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that when we start talking about the censuses, how who was counted, who was not counted, it
was two perspectives, if they don't have something that's missing, as you said Sunday, there's generally collusion and it's not an honest statement. That's what the beauty of it.
Amen. And Eric, can I say one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, the Baha'i religion comes in the 1800s, and it addresses that the Muslims were saying that the Bible was corrupt. And it bluntly says that the Muslims were the one that were corrupting. Because it even says, why would a people that has a book from God would ever want to change it? It calls them that they're falsifying. They're the ones that are corrupting in their mouth. They're the ones that are corrupting. It wasn't ever the Torah or the gospel that was ever corrupted. It's the Muslims that are saying that. I mean, it hog ties them right there. The Baha'i religion. I've been reading upon it. Thank you.
I don't know a lot about the Baha'i religion. Maybe we ought to do a show on that. What did you want to do a show? You wrote the Apocrypha. I've thought about doing that. Maybe we'll do that Sunday, and then do the Baha'i later. But
I've been studying hard on it. Yeah,
what does the Baha'i believe?
The Baha'i believes that the Mahdi, the Quran that's in the Quran, that he's come and he's called the Bab. So he's the Mahdi that has come and that is given a continual revelation of Allah. And Allah bids all the Muslims to come to the Baha'i religion.
Okay, this sounds like a Nation of Islam type stuff.
Well, it's actually more sounds like the Shia.
It came from Shia.
When you start reading it.
Came from the Shia tradition, and the Bab was killed. Mm-hmm. The Bab was killed by the administration at that time, and then Baha'u'llah. The way that they usually say it is that the Bab was sort of like John the Baptist, and Baha'u'llah is like the Christ. That's the kind of comparison that's made in the tradition.
Right. My dad's was part of the Baha'i faith.
Stuff.
Okay, let's go to number 6. Number six is we shall show respect. We shall show respect towards the Muslims, us Christians and Jews will, and we shall rise from our seats when they wish to sit. Who does that remind you of?
That's really disturbing.
Yeah.
That's very disturbing.
Yes, it's very disturbing.
And you're going to try to tell me...
We're going to have equality.
Yeah, you're going to try to tell me that the Sharia is, and the Pact of Umar is what? Consistent with Western civilization, with the United States Constitution? Are you kidding me? But, hey, if you think that in your head, you go ahead and think that. You go to the Reliance of the Traveler, Division O, number 11.5, and you go to Bull-Legged 4, it says, you must keep to the side of the street. Do you guys know why they tell you that you have to push the infidel to, because it comes from a hadith where you're to push the infidel to the narrowest part of the street. Do you guys know why that is?
Because you're nudges. Because you're nudges.
No, because that's where the sewer was.
Yeah, your sewer. That's what nudges means. Sewage.
Exactly right there. You were.
Yeah. Thank you, CP.
Was. Yeah. Look at that. Well,
nudges goes with nudges.
If you guys watch God Logic on Sunday, I think he was with Uthman, or maybe it was just a replay that I was watching. But he told Avery that he was nudges. Don't touch my Quran. You're nudges. You're filthy. He literally said this on the video. He goes, "You're filthy," and he's like, "Okay, I get it. If you that and that." And here's the thing: this is what the religion, what Islam teaches, and he's just repeating what it teaches. This is that we are filthy, we are unclean, we are not to touch the Quran. This is why those MPs down in Gitmo got in all that trouble, is because they were saying that you can't touch our Quran, you cannot handle our Quran. If you handle our Quran, you are desecrating it. So this is why they had them actually wear gloves if they were going to go in and do a cell search on these guys. So when they go to touch the Quran and look at the Quran. Anyway.
Yeah, don't touch our idol. That's what it is. Don't touch our idol.
That's a good correlation. I like that. Okay,
thank you, sir.
Number 7. We shall not seek to resemble the Muslims by imitating any of their garments. Okay, let me ask you a question. Would anybody here want to wear any of these? Connie or Darcy? Would you guys
as a human being would be able to even think like that?
Okay. So would you guys want to wear that type of garb? And
Well,
Isa,
it
okay,
gets worse
before,
'cause there's
okay,
actually-
hold on a second. I saw Isa in some time. What are you dressed up for as the other day on Skype? What was that? Or was it on Messenger? One of the two. It was like a prom or something. What was that? Isa, was he gone silent on us?
Oh,
He's in the Matrix.
oh.
You're in the Matrix, dude.
He went out. Okay.
Well, he's gonna try to come back in, but it was actually a pretty cool outfit. Don't tell him I said that.
Well, the answer is beyond words, and I'll just leave it that way.
Okay.
You asked that question. It's
Yeah,
beyond
no,
words right
okay.
now. Yes.
And then the Kwalans, what's that? How do you say Kwanzaa? The turban?
I think this is the belt that they're talking about because they would make you wear a very fat belt.
That's the Zunar. That's coming up.
Okay.
That's the turban, footwear, or the parting of the hair.
Well, they would shave your head differently. They would part your hair. It was all forced.
Right.
Yeah, it was all locally enforced. And
okay, we shall not speak. We shall not speak as they do. So all of these little cultish like slogans, assalamu alaikum, assalamu alaikum, or and then saying peace be on you. All of these things that they, all of these phrases, these Arabic phrases that they can't use those now. We shall not speak as they do, nor shall we adopt their. What's a kunya? You know what that is, Paul?
I have no idea.
No, I know one of them has to do with a belt, and I can't remember this one. But there was, they got the turban. Here's as simple as it gets. Hitler learned from this, and he created the yellow star that was on every
that's coming up
Jewish person. This is what Hitler. He didn't create this. It was done by the Muslims, and this is. I've actually, when I started researching, what was I look? I was looking at dimitude. And if you, I don't know if you pulled up some of Batye's comments on this. I can pull some up in a minute if you want. But she actually has, I recommend her book, Islam and Dimitude. But
who's that? Batyor?
Batyor?
Yeah, I got it right up here somewhere.
Yeah. She has some great stuff on that. But it's so horrific that the purpose is every single non-Muslim has to be humiliated. That's the purpose of this. And there are actually discussion groups, or what we used to call bulletin boards. That's how far back I was looking at this. But you can go to a chat group or whatever and just label it Dhimmi dress code. And you'll get people who want to tell the non-Muslims in their neighborhood what they can wear.
Is that the book?
That's the book.
That's the book. Yep. Ouch, man. Yeah. Okay. And also, let me add to here in the end. Nor shall we adopt their kunyas. And I just looked that up. It deals something with the name of your firstborn.
Yes. Like Ibn Abbas, so you can't name your son of Adam, son of Eric.
Okay.
Okay, so I looked that up too. Yeah.
All right, that makes sense. All right, Isa, are you still in the Matrix or what are you doing? I can't. Can you guys hear him? I can't hear him.
No, sir.
Hi. Well, whenever you get out of the Matrix, I want to know about that outfit you had on the other day. Okay, so can't dress up like them, but who would really want to? So when we look at, again, here we go, the Reliance of the Traveler. Non-Muslim subjects are obliged, okay, and are not distinguished from Muslims in dress, wearing a wide, here's the Zunar, Paul, where you have to wear that wide belt to distinguish yourself from a Muslim. So you have to wear the Zunar as a form of humiliation. And you cannot greet them with Assalamu alaikum, or however you say that. Assalamu alaikum? Assalamu alaikum? Assalamu alaikum?
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Then you say alaikum salam.
Yeah.
Or we would
and-
say shalom.
What is that? What do they say after Muhammad? It says something wala sala
Yeah,
wala bala,
yeah,
whatever.
SAW. Yeah, peace, which is actually praises be upon him. Yeah, praises.
Assalam, something assalam. I'm like, you're in a cult, dude. That's all that is. So you got to say that after every time you say the guy's name. He's been dead for 1,400 years. Oh, it's respect.
Yeah,
No, it's not.
yeah,
It's a cult.
Yeah, they think if they don't say it, then Allah's going to get them. They'll be in trouble with
Why?
Allah.
Why? This guy
Because
was
it's a
just
cult.
messenger.
Because
Exactly.
it's a cult. Yeah.
Right.
They've made them robots.
Okay, number 8. Number ocho. We shall not mount on saddles, nor shall we gird swords, nor bear any kind of arms, nor carry them on our persons. Doesn't seem
Sounds
very
like the
compatible.
Democrats. Sounds like the Democrats. Oh,
Yeah. No weapons for non-Muslims for you. No Second Amendment right for you. Were you gonna say something about that, Paul?
I'm going to keep fighting for him. I'm sorry. I don't actually own a gun right now, but I totally stand behind everybody's right to own one, because that's what protects that's what protects the rest of your rights.
Exactly. Yeah, that
we did a survey in a high school classroom. What's the most important amendment? And they all said freedom of speech. So we changed it. What right do you have that can protect all your other rights?
second.
And boy, did that create quite a discussion.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah, and when the kids figured it out, they're like, "Oh my God, we have to own guns."
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
And
Or
do
your
this
freedom
in an
will be
inner city
taken from
school.
Well,
you.
if you listen, if
Whoa.
you read the notes from the Constitutional Conventions, where they sent the Bill of Rights down to the states after a lot of people don't realize this, but when the Constitution was written in 1787, it was ratified in 1788. They had a presidential election, and that first Congress, because now you have 3 branches of government instead of just one, the first Congress wrote the Bill of Rights. They had to send that down, those Bill of Rights, down to the state legislatures for ratification. And when these articles, these Bill of Rights, were argued at these constitutional conventions, and the First Amendment was argued, it wasn't because they wanted people to have guns to go hunting and go hunt deer wearing Kevlar. That's not the reason why they wanted people to have the right to bear arms. They realized that people had to have the right to bear arms because if a government becomes too tyrannical and is no longer protecting your rights and is now stomping on your rights, you as a citizen have to have the ability to defend yourself from a tyrannical government.
Right.
You think I'm kidding? You think I'm crazy? Go read those notes. Go read what those legislatures said, why they voted for the Second Amendment. Isn't simply because they understood. They'd come out of this revolution, folks. You need to understand. They came out of this revolution. They had this mindset. They didn't want to get away from the Articles of Confederation because it gave too much power to a central government. So one of the trade-offs for that, when they did promise to write a Bill of Rights and ratify the Constitution, they said, we'll include there a way to protect yourself. And this is a way to protect yourself from a government. It has nothing to do with hunting. It has nothing to do with skeet shooting. And it has everything to do with protecting yourself from a government that become too tyrannical. And under the Pact of Umar, you cannot do it.
And we're getting there pretty close.
Back to 7 for just a second. I just want to read some about yours comments on this. She said, they assigned to the dhimmi coarse cloth and specific colors for each religion and special belts. Those are the zunar. Nor did the legislator fail to give precise details as to the headgear, the pointed caps, which is the Q word. And they really look what we would call dunce caps today, or turbans made of particular fabrics and color. Christians had to shave the front of their heads above their forehead. According to An Nawawi, the dhimmi has to make himself distinguishable by a piece of yellow cloth and a belt over his clothing. If he enters a bathhouse where there are Muslims, or if he undresses elsewhere in their presence, the infidel has to wear an iron or lead ring on his neck, or else some other sign of servitude. Yeah, some of this, one of the discussion groups I got into where there were Muslims discussing, and laughing about. There's actually, you can find it on Memory too, where they're actually people having a discussion about what you can wear, and I think they should have to wear different colored socks. I mean, they're sitting there laughing about it. Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's always nice to mock an oppressor and do it in their face, especially when they say, well, you're going to do what I say. You're going to. No, we're not. We're not. I mean, this is where when people start saying, we're going to come for your guns. We're going to come take your guns away from you. No, you're not. It's just not going to happen. We have the Second Amendment in our country for a reason. So when that Beto, what's his name? Beto,
he's not man enough to
Beto York.
Yeah, Beto O'Rourke, but he's not.
Yeah,
man
Rourke.
enough
Thank you, sir.
To be known for much more than being Beto.
Okay, well, when he got up there and for that news conference the other day, and he's previously said, now he's running for state office. I guess he's kind of tempered his stance on
federally. He's
right.
That's a joke.
Well, even at the state level, you say, one of your tenets is, I'm going to take your AR-15.
Oh, he's not going to get elected any place in Texas.
That ain't going to happen in Texas, buddy. Now you might want to. You can go to Rhode Island or maybe Massachusetts or New York.
Even the Democrats in Texas own guns.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. Okay, so this would be a direct violation of the Second Amendment, of course. We shall not engrave Arabic inscriptions on our seals. So when we look at how today we sign letters or sign our name to things, they would develop their own seal. So you would have your own seal to imprint on something to indicate it was from you. And it was another way to keep them from having any type of stature in the Islamic community. Why? Because if your seal does not bear any Arabic inscription on it, they know immediately you're a dhimmi.
The only thing I'd say that was good about this is it allowed the preservation of language. That was not the intention, but
how so?
Because they were allowed to keep their native, like Persians were allowed to continue to speak Farsi. I mean, some of these languages survived through the control of Islam. I mean, because they kept them as dhimmis.
Oops.
You know why? Because if we had to learn Arabic, we would have read that Quran and found out how filthy it is.
Oh, yes.
So it's to their advantage. Yes, sir. Yeah. They were hiding.
Well, you call this guy a prophet? Yeah. I mean, come on. Yeah. Read it and find out for yourself. It's laughable.
Let's go to numero 10. We shall not sell fermented drinks. So this is the problem. And the reason why it's a problem is because the Christians aren't a bunch of drunks. The reason why it's a problem is because in order to take one of the sacraments, communion, you have to have wine. And it says right here, again, you cannot display wine or pork. And all Muslims are not allowed, non-Muslims cannot display these. And when you look at Islamic lands, and they don't have these, what was it? Adam Seeker was on here, and he was saying one of the biggest black markets in Pakistan is Muslims buying alcohol from the Christians.
Yes.
But when we think about as a religious prohibition here, now you're telling Christians that they cannot partake in the sacrament of communion. You'd be like my denomination where they just drink grape juice, but in
that's what they thought they were forbidding was part of it, yeah.
And then also the Saudis, when you look at these guys travel, I mean, these guys are some of the biggest lushes. When you start talking about some of the parties they go on, it's like, this is what money does. It makes you weak. Okay, enough of that. All right, let's go to number 11. We shall, here it is, right here, Paul. We should clip the front of our heads. So all of this hair that I have here, I'd have to shave it back to about here as a mark of humiliation, which is it's getting grayer and grayer every day, but that's okay. At least I have
You'll
it.
catch up to me one of these days.
We shall always dress in the same way wherever we may be, and we shall bind the zunar around our waist. So this was, again, as I talked about,
That's
this
the belt.
it's in the Reliance of the Traveler, where you have to bind this yellow belt. Oh, here it are. Distinguished from this, wearing the belt zunar. Yeah. And then also this leads to a 6-pointed star. So Hitler really was not being inventive on this. He was just mimicking the second Caliph Umar.
And Hitler was communicating back and forth with Hassan al-Banna, the founder of the Muslim Brotherhood. I mean,
Yes.
they were pen pals. So it's no surprise that he got this information.
It's in our video too. We've got that picture, don't we, Eric?
That's
Well,
not
that's the
Hassan
Mufti.
al-Banna.
That's the Grand Mufti.
Okay,
Yeah.
sir. Oh, okay. Who is that? Imam who? With Hitler.
That's the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem that you
The
have.
Grand Mufti of Jerusalem,
okay.
right? Yeah.
Thank you.
And he's
Thank
the one
you
that
for
went up and gave Hitler an idea on how to rapidly kill all the Jews. Now, go back to what you said about Hassan al-Banna.
Well,
having
Hassan
correspondence
al-Banna
with
and Hitler were pen pals. They wrote back and forth, and al-Banna admired things like Hitler Youth, so he created Muhammad's Youth, and you'll see them throughout any country you go to. You'll see groups like that, and that, I mean, it was just another. It was
Muhammad's Youth. Did
Yeah.
he work
Well,
with the DNA?
Okay, how do we know?
No.
Yeah.
You think of it like a Boy
Jeez.
Scouts. Think of it like a Boy Scouts, and
Oh,
not
okay.
or not
Recruitment.
Scouts. Yeah.
Okay, I
Do we have
got you.
any of
Thank
this-
you.
That's the equivalent.
Do we have any of this correspondence?
I haven't yet encountered it in my research, but I'm sure it's talked about around the world wherever researchers on the Muslim Brotherhood work. So I don't know anybody who has it, except probably with the exception of people who are doing the investigative work in Egypt.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I can locate.
I haven't yet found any correspondence, but then it would be in Arabic, so I couldn't probably read it anyways.
Well, how could it be good?
No, it'd have to be in German.
You're right. It'd have to be in. Yeah, you would think it would be translated. And really,
Was that-
it's
if he's
written in
coming-
Arabic or.
I didn't,
German.
I'm guessing that. So again, Hitler, I don't know how they became best buds in letters, but I think it was out of admiration for Hitler's desire to exterminate the
Well,
Jews.
see, right. It's both the anti-Semitic pigs is what they were, and this is. I
Yeah.
mean, their hatred, their hatred for a specific people group united them, even though they're. But Hitler's also quoted as saying he admires the Islamic faith.
Yeah, he had no problem with them getting rid of the Jews.
Because it's
And-
based on murder, killing the Jews,
There
then
you
the
go.
Christians. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Islam
let's-
is murder. Oh, let me say, Eric, Islam
Say it
is
again.
murder.
Say it,
Islam
Connie.
is murder.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Now go sit in your corner.
I'll sit in my corner for the imam. For the imam, I'll sit in my corner until I'm ready to be spoken to.
So this
Kill,
quote comes
Lie
from.
and murder.
I'm sorry. Can me just read another one of clothing? It comes from the 1700s. Mustafa III, 1757 to 54, renewed the same orders on June 1758, and this is all about clothing. While according to religion and according to custom, Jewish and Christian dhimmis who lived in Istanbul, center of Caliphate, its surroundings, had at all times to refrain from resembling Muslims in matters of clothing, and in matters of external appearance to preserve an attitude of humility in their demeanor and to observe the rules of politeness. Yet for some time, those named above have, by their manners, they affected not only exceeded the bounds of the Sharia and of politeness, and contrary to the obligations worn, and without possessing firmans. Yet, I mean, there's rules about. I'll just leave the rest because you're going to come into those. Yeah.
Okay.
Here's
Let's
the one
go
I'm
to
talking about.
13. All right. So look what it says here. We shall not display. Oops, wrong one. There we go. We shall not display our crosses or our books in the roads or markets of the Muslims. So no crosses can be displayed there. Why? Because that would give people the idea that Jesus might have been crucified, and this is exactly what the Injil, the gospel message, is. We shall use only clappers in our churches very softly. And this, I looked this up. This is kind of like a musical instrument that they use. Instead of having that big old pipe organ and pianos or whatever, they would have clappers. Now, I'm not exactly sure what type of noise that would make. Maybe that wouldn't be a good topic for a show. Nobody would watch the show if we just talk about clappers. But that's what they use to make music. But they have to do it very softly. They can't do it very loud. We shall not raise our voices when following our dead. That means that you cannot be publicly mourning. We shall not show lights on any of the roads of Muslims or in their markets, meaning that you will not be out at night. We shall, here we go. Here's where we talk about segregation. We shall not bury our dead near Muslims. Do we have segregated cemeteries today?
Yes, we do.
We do. We have, there's, up where I'm from,
You'll have Protestant cemeteries, Catholic cemeteries.
That's what I was going to say. There was one cemetery for Catholics and one cemetery for Protestants.
There's a Catholic cemetery near me that is portion. The Catholic is, they have a Jewish portion there as well. Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever been to a military cemetery?
Yes.
Okay. And you see Jewish symbols in those military cemeteries?
It's been a long time.
You do. Trust me. You do.
There's a large amount of Jewish people who served. Yeah.
And you have, well, if you go to Normandy, that's the first place that I saw it. And that was a long time ago. But they have the Star of David on there. And they also have the Crescent on some of the graves. So in military cemeteries, public cemeteries, we do bury people that are of different faiths right next to each other. If you go to some of the Civil War cemeteries, you'll have, one of the biggest things was segregating the black troops from the white troops and not burying them together. But if you go to some of them, they were buried right alongside each other. So this idea of segregating people today, 2022, is kind of an anathema. And especially if you're doing it when you go to bury somebody. Okay, let's go to the next one. Number 14, we shall not take slaves who have been allotted to Muslims. So any slave that has been previously allotted to a Muslim, you cannot have. You cannot have their former sex slave, even if they're selling them or giving them away for free or whatever. You can't have that.
How about we get rid of slaves completely? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. That was
Agreed.
clear as day.
And that's a pretty simple statement, but they couldn't do that because then they would be calling their prophet imperfect.
Yeah, there you go. That's exactly why he says, because Muhammad owned slaves. Since Muhammad owned slaves, sold slaves, traded slaves, and enslaved people, it's
abused as slaves.
Right, it's sunnah. There you go. Okay, so you can't have slaves that belong to Muslims, and we shall not build houses overtopping the houses of Muslims. And I mentioned this before. You cannot build your house higher than that of a Muslim, where a Muslim actually has to look up to you when he looks out his front window. So you have to be beneath them. And the same thing with churches, if they exist. The mosque or the minaret must always, how's that go? The minaret must always be higher than the highest steeple of any church in the city.
Well, there are places, even in Canada and here in the States, where cities have actually made rules where, in respect to at least cathedrals that I know of, and in France, you can't have anything taller than the cathedral. So, I mean, I've actually seen places here, even in this country. So, yeah.
Say that one more time.
Where there's a cathedral that's X amount of feet tall, that the town or city has passed a law that says you can't have anything taller than that. These are, yeah. some of these
So
things you see.
okay, let me ask you this. Would that law hold up in the Supreme Court today?
I think it's up to it's a local law, so I think it'd be up to the local community.
Even if it's a local law.
I think they could fight it today, but I think again it would be up to the people to. I think that's what they would say. It's a community ordinance.
Okay, that would violate the equal opportunity clause. I mean, this is what you say.
Yeah,
you cannot discriminate. You cannot discriminate against somebody by
I think they could just put it,
religion.
Yeah. So I think they could put it to a just because it's done by the community. In some places it's still enforced. I think the solution would be if they had put it to a vote in the community recently. I don't think there would be an issue.
Well, the community cannot, just because the majority of the people in the community want to discriminate against a religion, that does not still give them the right
it's
to
not.
discriminate.
See, it's not necessary. That's where I'm getting at. I agree with what you're saying. I think it's communities. I think have the rights to have their own rules, and this is where I'm not. Yeah, I mean, this is where you'll get Islamic laws being put in small communities, like in Dearborn. They some of the way they treat non-Muslims is a violation of what we would call your God-given rights.
Sure.
And this is like this week. I've been working with Usama. We finished our 20-part series on the lies in the textbooks, and we were talking about the things that have happened. I shared out these violations, what happens as a result, and the teacher posted back, some of the she posted back what was allowed in a lesson, and it directly all this, it has to do with the United States, and they're referring to the UN, universal human rights, and they do that because in our country, human rights it's not human rights. It's God-given rights.
Right.
And they have to ignore that.
Well, if you look if you read the Declaration of Independence, you can see where our rights are derived from. They are derived by our Creator. We find these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. And notice that Biden said, when he quoted that, he said, all men and women. It sounded like the Declaration of Sentiments from the Seneca Falls Convention. But anyway, we find these truths that all men are created equal and they're endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights.
Unalienable.
Rights you cannot take away. And so when you start talking about rights, you're not going to be taken away.
It's because Biden's dementia made him forget that the reference to men in the 1700s was a reference to all
mankind.
Yes, it was a reference to mankind. Thank you.
Now, can Biden define now the word woman since he said that, or women?
I think he's only able to. I think he's only able to say what he's told to say because he's got dementia.
He does. The guy's a hot mess. Okay,
he's a laughing stock wherever he goes.
I know. Okay, we could do like 5 shows on him in a row, and still, with all the material he gives you.
Oh, every week, every day.
Barely scratch the surface.
That's why they try to keep him off the air.
He's supposed to go to Israel in a month, but he's going to first talk to the Palestinians. Did y'all hear that?
I don't think that's wise.
Well, he wants to appease them first before he goes into Israel and talks to, Israel
Knesset. That did call for jihad, so they might want to see him.
Okay, let's go back to, here we go. The Pact of Umar. So that number 15 was the last one. Okay, so here's what it says at the bottom. It says, we accept these conditions for ourselves and for the people of our community, and in return, we receive safe conduct. Now, this is like making a contract with the mob, is what it basically is. It's the mob with a god. We will, in return, we receive safe conduct. If you do not follow these rules, you do not pay the jizya, you are not going to have safe conduct. So that's what this treaty is supposed to provide them. If we in any way violate these undertakings for which we ourselves stand surety, we forfeit, we give up our covenant or our dehimitude, and we become liable to the penalties for contumacy. What is that? Contumacy? What does that mean?
Contumacy. Yeah.
Either
mean? Way. Yeah.
And sedition. Okay, so they're committing a crime if they violate any provisions of this treaty. And sedition.
This is the error that's in textbooks, and so you'll find, if you want to find out if your social studies textbook is corrupted, world history, go to the back, look up the word DHIMMI. And if it says it translates to a protected people, that is a lie from the pit of hell. I'm sorry. If you consider the people who signed this as protected, they had to pay every year and be beat on the back of the neck as they gave that payment in order to live, in order to not have their women and children stolen from them, in order to live. Think about that. That's not a
somebody was describing it where they would grab you by your beard and then slap you across the face is how they would receive the zakat.
They actually beat you on the back of the neck. There's a lot of good descriptions of that. I can pull up one just a minute.
How long did this Pact of Umar last, Eric?
Well, it lasts as long as the Muslims maintained control of Jerusalem.
How long was that?
Until the Crusades, 1099.
So 400 years.
7, 8, 9, 10,
roughly
400 years. Yeah, about 400 years.
Wow.
And then hold on a second. And then after 1278 is when they lost control of the Christians, lost control of it. And so it was reimposed. So you can count on it being reimposed on everybody until 1948, where it is no longer imposed upon.
You know, my relative was king of Jerusalem, Falk the fifth or something, the older or the younger, in 1080. He was a king of England, and then he gave it to his brother, and he went to be king of Jerusalem, and he fought in the Crusades. Yeah.
That's
found that
cool.
out after my dad passed away. My stepmom had that done. And if my stepmom that does that online, what's it called, where you can do your ancestry?
Oh, yeah, ancestry.com.
She even looked at it and went, "Oh my goodness, I'm like in baby school compared to my dad's."
If you look at mine fought in the gates of Vienna in what was that, 1583 or something like that. But anyway,
that's why we're all here together.
Crusaders. They weren't those nasty crusaders that I have in my family tree. Okay, where were we?
But nevertheless, that's why we're all here together, because we stand up for what's right.
Okay, so we forfeit our comfort. Okay, so here, if you violate this, okay, now look what Umar adds to the end here. This is priceless. Look at this. He says, Umar ibn al-Khattab replied, "Sign what they ask, but add 2 clauses and impose them, in addition to which they have undertaken. Number 1, you shall not buy anyone made prisoner by the Muslims. You cannot buy a Muslim prisoner or prisoner of war or slave." And look at this one right here. This is priceless. Whoever strikes a Muslim with deliberate intent shall forfeit the protection of this pact. So if you ever hit one of these guys that are slapping you around, you just forfeited your pact. You have to let them do what they want to you. It's absolutely sick. Okay, so what conclusions can we draw here? Number 1. It violates the civil rights and liberties of non-Muslims. This is what the Sharia does, and this is what the Pact of Umar does. It restricts the worship of non-Muslims, when you can worship, how loudly you can worship, where you can worship and what you can say when you worship and who you can say it to. It segregates Muslims and non-Muslims. Even in death, it segregates them. And it purposely prevents the growth of other faiths. And this is kind of a smart thing to do if you want your faith to grow and you want the other faiths to die. You just take away any motivation, any reason why this person would want to maintain that faith socially, economically, in any way. And this is what they did. And it humiliates non-Muslims, again, to try to persuade them to become Muslims. So that's what the Pact of Umar does.
I've got a question. Is this the same Umar that burnt all the other Qurans? The burner of the first Qurans?
That was Uthman. That was the third
the next caliph.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So, just to talk about the jizya, I have a record here of an American shipwrecked captain, and he's giving a report about paying the jizya. The Qaid, the Uwaid, and the Qadi, Mali Mustafa, had mounted their tent today nearby Mela Gate and had summoned the Jews in order to collect from them the jizya, which they are obliged to pay the Sultan. They had me summoned also. I first inquired whether those who were European protected subjects had to pay this tax. Having learned that a great many, it says American shipwrecked captain. At the same time, I'm guessing he's also has a different. He has two citizenships. I'm guessing 1894. Okay, European protected subjects had to pay this tax. Having learned that a great many of them already paid it, he said, "I wish to do likewise." Also, having remitted the amount of the tax to the two officials, I received the Qadi's guard 2 blows on the back of the neck. Addressing the Qadi and the Qaid, I said, "Know that I am an Italian protected subject." Whereupon the Qadi said to the guard, "Remove the kerchief covering his head and strike him strongly. He can go out and complain wherever he wants." And this is, there's records of this throughout history of this is how you paid your jizya. It's not something light. It made.
Well, this is where if you read the end of 929, it says that you pay with, what does it say? With humility, you pay the jizya with, and they are humbled, and they're brought low.
And again, is from this book, Islam and Dimitude.
Yeah.
About Yar.
Okay. I had something that I was going to say. It was just at the tip of my tongue, and now I forgot it. What the heck? Now that you got me off topic, Paul.
Sorry.
Very good.
Hello?
Way to go.
Am I working? Am I live on Memorex? Okay, so this is the Umar that said, "Verily among you people, one would say that he has found the Quran while he is unaware of what the total quantity of the Quran was, because most of the Quran has been lost. Rather, one should say that verily he has found the Quran that has appeared." That's the same Umar. So don't say that you found the Quran.
Because wasn't there like 120 verses missing from one of the
200. 200.
Was it 200? Okay.
In the cow, but don't quote me.
Oh, wow, that would have been really long.
Yeah.
That's a lot of verses.
Yeah,
sorry, 200 and something now.
Yeah, here's another one from Umar. "Let none of you say, I have got the whole of the Quran. How does he know what all of it is? Most of the Quran has gone. Let him say instead, I have got what."
Uh-oh, you just dropped.
We lost you.
Yeah, this was the note I was just going to make, Sam. I just wrote it down. Barbary Pirate Wars and the jizya. Exactly right. This is why we fought the Barbary Pirate Wars. These were, we were being required. It was actually, I can't remember what the percentage was of our total budget, but it was like 25, 30%. I can't remember. It was an absolute astounding amount. And Jefferson said, "No, we ain't doing it.
No, we're not going to do that."
That's
so
right.
he circumvented Congress. He actually did this the dead of the night. He sent ships to the Barbary pirate, the coast, the North Africa, to fight these guys. And then after he sent them, he went in and told Congress, he says, "I just sent ships to the Barbary pirates." He waited until after they were gone. What are you going to do? Send them a telegram? hey guys, come on back. No. So he went ahead and he proactively did, and it lasted. These wars lasted for like 3 years. I mean, but it was Sam put that the USMC was created during this, and from the halls of Montezuma's to the shores of
It was because
Tripoli.
those
Tripoli.
men, those Marines, went ashore and did something that no one else did. They beat them and they won.
Hallelujah.
And the reason why, I know this, Marines are called leathernecks.
Yes.
We call them jarheads today, but I'm kidding. We don't. Well, we do call them jarheads.
Sir,
No offense,
812.
Right. It's because of the way they cut their hair. But anyway, they were called leathernecks because it says in the Quran to strike them. Was it 9-5? Strike them at their neck.
812 also. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and so they put leather straps when they found this out. As soon as they would try to board the ships, they would put leather straps around their neck because they knew this is where the Muslims were aiming for. So they call them leathernecks. So this is where the Marine Corps originated. Very good. I love history. Okay, I'm going to call it a night as a Sunday. Oh, folks, Sunday, we're going to have to end right at 4:00 because we have Vacation Bible School starting at the Catholic Church. And I'm deeply involved in that. And plus, I got all my grandkids going too, so I got to be there for that. And then Tuesday, I don't think we're going to have a show next Tuesday unless you want to take the reins on that, Paul. And the reason why is because
we'll talk later then.
I'm like I said, I got to be there. We have it Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We have 5 nights, so I got to be there all 5 nights. I'm kind of looking forward to it.
Enjoy.
You gotta. I mean, if you're not reaching the kids, I mean, this is how religions die. This is how cultures perish. Is that you don't bring the kids into it. And this is why anytime that you have the opportunity to teach children about Jesus Christ, you gotta jump on it and get it done.
Did you see that video that I sent you that they're teaching the kids? You punch them, you make a stone, and you throw it at the Jews if they come near you. If they're your
Messenger?
Jewish neighbors, yeah, I sent it to you in Messenger.
Hamas messaging, yeah.
Yeah, I'll go jump on it then. Did you just send it to me?
It's about like 2 minutes. No, I sent it to you about an hour ago, sir.
Who is that? Is this from the Palestinian guy?
Well, he's Jewish. He was born of a Jewish family in Yemen.
Mm-hmm.
So he's Jewish. He's Hebrew.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Anyway,
I'll grab that. Get right on it. Okay. You guys have anything else for the fire? Anything from the chat?
I can answer your question about
yes,
what was happening. So that was the prom. I was a chaperone at the prom, and I had become a part of the prom court. I had never gone to prom, so it was like a special thing. The outfit I'm wearing is South Asian, so I have a lot of ethnic clothing. I think that was an interesting point that said that that you can't wear the same clothes as other people. But I mean, it's just ethnic clothing. Like, you can have African clothing and be a Christian. You can, or, have Iranian clothing and be Jewish. Like, it's such a silly thing. This idea of what clothing you're wearing. It makes, you can't wear that. I'm very much against that kind of belief. That belief of exceptionalism, particularly of what family you're born into. That's basically what it's saying. It becomes a racist thing. It's saying I was born into the right family with the right understanding, and if you're not a part of my group, then I can alienate you. I think of the Asia Bibi case. Are you familiar with that case?
Oh yeah, Asha Bibi, yeah, from Pakistan.
Yeah, which is interesting as a South Asian person. Because see, Pakistanis, Indians, Bangladesh, they all wear the same clothing, by the way, because they're from the same culture. It's just that there was this thing called the partition, which basically they said, we're Muslims, so we want to separate. And I just like, it's so sick. Why? And it's not even, but it's not, it's actually like a Sunni supremacist situation, like Shias, Ahmadiyas, everybody else, Ismaili, they all suffer in those places. You know what I mean? If you're not an Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, that you suffer in those places. But it's so sad. I think it's a devastating situation. And with her case, she just went to go drink some water, and they said, you can't drink from this well because you're not one of us. She spoke the same language. She looked the same as them. That's not good enough. She had to have the same name as them. It wasn't enough to be a Pakistani. I just think that it's tragic. I think if someone came to the well as a human being, you would help them. It's not about your religion. If you really had a good faith and a good belief, you would help anyone regardless of faith. And I would think that if you're a good person or you're trying to inspire goodness, that would inspire people to your faith. By emanating goodness, you would draw people to your faith. But when you emanate darkness, then I don't know, I think you just push people into darkness. You don't bring them into light. So that's what I feel.
But what is Islam, Connie?
Islam is murder.
Okay, that's why you don't get it. That's right. That explains it right there. Where did you send that, Issa? Was that in Messenger?
Oh, it was on my Facebook. I posted a picture because I kind of wanted a kind of a formal clothing that was sort of exotic too. So I kind of did a fusion of sort of hip hop, South Asian. I put it all together because I didn't want to wear a suit and tie. Like I have suits and ties, but I wanted to do something a little bit more kind of cool because I'm like, this is my prom. I never went to prom, so that was my prom, and I got to be a part of the prom court. So I'm very happy about it.
Oh,
well, I was looking at that and I'm thinking, did he revert back to Islam or what? I mean, or what did he do here? And hold on.
Well, Adam probably wears clothing like that too. Adam probably wears clothing like that. That's the same kind of clothing. Yeah, that's what South Asian people wear in general, regardless of religion. It's called a kurta.
It's called a what?
Kurta, Kurta, kurta. And there's Shawara Kameez.
Well, when I looked at it, I was like, he's lost his mind. Here's what he looks like.
Oh,
and look at my,
yeah.
Here, look at my comment right here.
What's the belt over your shoulder there? I like that.
It's a Zunar.
Uh-huh. That's a sash? Okay. It's like a Klingon sash. It reminds me of the Klingon guy. What's his name?
Worf.
Yeah, Worf. Yeah. I like that. That's a nice outfit, though. Yeah, I like that. You're welcome, sir.
I looked at it and I was like, Issa's converted. He's gone to the dark side. Look at him.
But, you're bad.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, after you went in the Matrix and you dropped off, I said, "Don't tell Issa," but I thought it was a cool outfit. So I'm telling you, I think it's a cool outfit. Now I wouldn't be caught dead in one. But I think it's a cool outfit.
I'm surprised. You were in Iraq, right? So like you didn't wear clothing like that when you were there, like when you were with the civilians.
No, I wore interceptor body armor when I was in Iraq.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, like for like pajamas, like when you're in the house and stuff, or you just wore American clothing.
No,
they weren't out of uniform. Let me put it that way.
Oh, okay.
You would
because
I've heard you could wear civilian clothes. You didn't have civilian clothing. I didn't have any civilian clothing when I was in Iraq. I had my PTs, my physical training, like shorts, and then the Army T-shirt and all this other. But I didn't have any civilian clothing at all. I didn't have a pair of jeans for a whole year.
That's military.
That's
active. That's active military.
Yep.
Okay, guys, we're going to call it a night. We will see you Sunday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time for the Crescent Discussion Group. I love doing this, guys. It's always a lot of fun. I appreciate you all for being here, and we'll see you then. God bless you.
God bless.
Yeah.
God bless.
Adios.